did you decide who should leave? I mean, all of those people that were laid off or fired, however you want to look at it, what were the metrics that you used in terms of deciding how to cut staff?
That's a great question. The biggest metric we've had all along in this, whether it be the decision if they wanted to take the chance to leave the department on a retirement process, which was laid out by the administration, or in this, we scrubbed the list of all our employees, making sure that mission critical and front facing workers were not eligible for that. They were exempt from this process. We exempted over 300,000 positions because we were not going to the changes we were made were never going to be infected to the point to where quality care at our health care, our benefits, and our cemeteries were not going to be affected. The veteran is only going to see higher care. They're going to see better care, but we're just going to do it more efficiently. So what we looked at was those areas where we could make that, as I think has been said before, we were looking at the areas to trim that make sure that we're still doing our mission so we could put more money back into serving our veterans. And so let me just say real quickly, there's a lot of misinformation going on.
Okay, he's about to get into something else, so I want to stop there. I am conflicted, okay? This is what I would call cognitive dissonance, because am I down for cuts? I am. I've been in the federal government since my entire adult life to right now, today.
5 years. Good job.
Nice. If you don't think the federal government has overhires or they waste money, not all waste is fraud. Remember that. That's why it's fraud, waste, and abuse. There are 3 different categories. Fraud and abuse, I'm not going to support that at all. Waste is not as black and white. And so does the federal government have waste? The answer is yes. The reason I'm conflicted here is because we're talking about firing employees that the VA hired to do a job, and the only reason they were fired wasn't because they sucked. If you suck at your job, you get fired. I am down for that. It wasn't because of any other reason other than the VA administration got a mandate to say, hey, I'm going to assume they have a target number and they're doing everything they can to meet that target, whatever that target is. I assume it's a dollar figure. And cutting employees that you hired for a specific job is not the best way to do it, in my opinion. This isn't the first time the federal government has shrunk. During the Biden administration, the various agencies, to include the agency that I work for, has shrunk. And there are ways to go about that where you're not dismantling people's lives. For instance, let's say you have a person who's 59 years old. They've been in their position for, 20 years. They're going to retire at 62. That person's position is not needed anymore. So what do? Fire? Hey, I know you're 3 years from retirement. You're fired. You get nothing. No, because that's not how you treat people. That's definitely not how you treat civil service, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. And so what you'll see is the most common thing is, okay, they'll put that position in like an overhire position. So when that person retires, they just never backfill it. So then that funding for that position goes somewhere else, right? Or let's say you're someone my age and I have 30 years before I'm 62, okay, in case anyone's wondering here. Let's say my position is an overhire. Okay, well, you know what you do with me? You put me in priority placement. You give me priority hiring preferences. And you say, hey, Clay, next FY, this position is gone. So you're either gone or you can apply for these positions you qualify for, and you have priority hiring. Now, what priority hiring means is I apply, I get the job. That's pretty much it. And that's the process the federal government has. What we see happened is not that. We saw, hey, you got an email, and I'm willing to bet they were not fired in person. I bet my life on that. You get an email that says, hey, your number came up. Sorry, dude. You did a good job. I know that you're so excited to work for the federal government, and we have benefits. And by the way, working for the federal government is correlated with job security. Like that's the reason people go work for the federal government. That just dismantled everything. And I'm not down personal individual level because we're not talking SESs here, which are senior executives. We're not talking GS 15s or 14s. Probably talking like GS 13 and below. Like a GS 9 making 80 grand, working in DC, just got told, hey man, you don't work here anymore as of about 5 minutes ago. Sorry. I don't care if you support this administration or not. That's something that, like, if you take the individual case out, I'm not going to support. And I do not like Doug Collins for that decision.
Right.
I want to make that known. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, which is funny because you're very pro rip the Band-Aid off. So, and I think that was the approach, right? And again, I'm going to preface this with the easy road is not always the right road, right? And I think that this was the easy road because it was the probationary period employees, which made it an easier task. Look, there's two different ways to look at things, right? So there's the personal, I have a heart and I understand way. Then you have the completely, does it make sense business wise? And look, I'm doing this and it sucks to fire people. I've had to fire, I don't know, 100 people in my life. And it was not fun any single one of those times. So with that being said, let's back up in time a little bit. Less than a year ago, under the Biden administration, right? And this is, I don't really care what side anything falls on. It's just for clarity and to understand the timeline of things. Less than a year ago, less than 12 months ago, the Department of Veterans Affairs plans to reduce its workforce by 10,000 employees. What does that mean? Oh, you have too many employees. You have too many employees. If you're saving $100 million on 1,000, well, then that's $1 billion for 10,000, right? So you are way out of whack and you need to reduce your workforce by 10,000 employees. The VA talked about it. This was a real thing. It was about 2% of the VA's total workforce. And why the reduction, you might ask? It says here, 4 bullet points. The VA hired more than expected in 2024. Oops, we did too many. Retention rates are higher than expected. The VA needs to balance its workforce growth. The VA can continue to hire in priority areas like mental health. There's a whole slew of more information. This is less than a year ago. We need to reduce by 10,000. What was the VA's answer? The VA's answer to that was, okay, we're going to do it. Yep, we have to do it. We're going to do it. And we're going to do it the way with a heart. We're just going to wait for people to leave. And as they attrit, naturally, whether they retire, move on to another position, take another position in the federal government, whatever they do, we're just not going to fill those positions if they're not mission critical. And slowly, we will get rid of these 10,000 positions. Well, that never happened. Now we have an administration change. Now we have a new VA secretary in, and looking at, oh my God, we're 10,000. I mean, whatever the number really is, right? It actually went back and forth. So for all clarity, the VA maybe 5 months ago or so actually backtracked on their 10,000 negative. Let's reduce 10,000. They actually backtracked and said, oh, you know what? We probably actually need more. We actually probably need 5,000 more employees. So I say that because what do we really trust from the prior VA secretary? Because it's been all over the board. Who knows what it really is? In addition, you have the budget, which was also all over the board. Mm-hmm. So you have two things that are just all over the board, tennis match, that you have no clue what's really happening. So now the new administration takes place and they throw out that buyout, right? The email that you talked about, Clay, that said, hey, look, if you elect to accept this buyout, well, whatever, right? We'll pay you this and whatever. Their target, the government, Doge, and the government and everybody, what they were thinking was they would get about 200,000 people accepting that buyout. The reality is they got 75,000. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they fell short. 125,000 trying to expedite this process of, we'll call it from their perspective, we'll call it right sizing the federal government. And if you take two things into consideration, one, you're trying to right size your employee headcount. Two, you're trying to not impact veteran services, so to where the end user is not impacted. The one thing that the VA secretary did say is that of the, I believe it was 43,000, I think that was the number, 43,000, or maybe it was 4,300. I can't remember. It was a lot. I think it was 40 in the 40,000s, but who really knows? The number, there's a bigger number of employees in the probationary period. They looked at all of those probationary period employees because it's the easy road. I can get rid of these people without dealing with a bunch of garbage to try to get rid of these people. Mm-hmm. Again, is it the right move? It's kind of heartless, and it's kind of the wrong way to do it, and it sends the wrong message, and blah blah blah. Yes, but here you are. You're focused in on this group. If you're focused in on the probationary period employees, now you're going, okay, how can I get rid of some of these employees, or a dollar amount, or as many as I can, that won't impact the people we serve? Okay, that's going to be these ones. Okay, we shuffled the deck and out you came, and here you are, and we kept all the aces and the kings and the queens and the jacks and the 10. Mm-hmm. We're getting rid of the 2s, 3s, and 4s because those aren't going to impact the overall ability of us providing the benefits that we do. And so it happened, and here we are, and it sucks. Again, I don't agree with the process that took place to do it. I would have preferred, and this is what I said in my video on it, Clay, was when you do it this way, you could be getting rid of superstar, high performers, great employees. Because you're not looking at that as a indicator on whether they stay or go. That's not part of the equation. So you could be getting rid of some really great employees when you're keeping some really bad employees that you would have to put a little more work into to get rid of, right? Because you have to go through the process. Right? Yeah. Okay. Performance improvement plan. You've been written up 3 times for the same thing. And now we got to put you on a performance improvement plan. And now we got to do this. And now we got to do that. And now we have to do an intervention meeting with your union rep. And now we got it's a long process. So that could take a year to fire somebody instead of a day. So I get the attraction from a business standpoint. And if those that you're serving aren't impacted, except for the veterans that you fired, there is that number, right? So there's whatever that is, 300 veterans that now could potentially become homeless, and they're going to be reaching out for homeless veteran stuff. So, maybe there should have been a little more thought into how they did it. The one thing you did say, though, Clay, that I think is the hybrid version. You can't wait a year to try to. I mean, there's a lot of things that need to take place. A year's time frame to accomplish what they're trying to do, probably not really that great of an idea. The 1-day thing, too soon. Your hybrid version that you had mentioned before was, look, hey, it was great. Sorry, things didn't work out. We're completely. We don't even know why you got hired. To be honest with you, we're new in town. Sorry. But we're going to give you 3 months, mm-hmm. and we're going to pay you for the next 3 months, even if you leave tomorrow for a new job. That would be the right thing to do, and you're still winning, right? Yeah. And that 3 months is actually less, I think, than what the buy-on offer was. So it incentivizes the person to actually leave faster, because then they can get double pay, right? So they go out to find another job in a month. And now all of a sudden they got 2 months of double pay, which everybody likes. So I think there could have been some sort of a version like that, right? That would have been a little more tasteful I think that this was distasteful, the way that it rolled out, and I think that the optics again just aren't a good look. It really gives that look of the heartlessness of it all, and the lack of care and empathy, which I think that then equates to the fear of, well, who's next? Is the veteran next? Right? Because if they're just out there slicing necks, who's to say that my neck isn't safe, right? So in any case, I know I rambled on for a long time, but there was a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, I saw a lot of comments on this too, saying like, oh, well, I'm glad my VA doctors are getting fired. And that's just a misinterpretation of what's being said. And I've seen a lot of comments like that. So these are not doctors. These are not people who are supporting veteran healthcare, veteran
right, mission critical.
It's like your HR person who's brand new. It's your janitor, right? The VA has a police force, and I should really say security. It's like that's like when I say like GS9, I'm talking about seriously someone who. So at the VA in DC, there are 2 people that check IDs before you get into the parking garage. Like that's who we're talking about here. And I'm definitely looking at it from a heart perspective, just to be very clear. And there's no way I can even slightly just get behind that at all. And I'm actually disappointed in Doug Collins, and because you would assume with his theology background and religious background, there's some sort of moral compass or moral high ground. Even when a mandate comes, I'm not judging. I just want to be very clear on that. I don't know. I would have liked, if I had my dream come true, it would be Doug Collins says, I get that number, but we're not going to go about it that way. Dude, I would die for that man if he said that.